Hi, I'm Jim McCann, founder of 1-800-Flowers. I'm not satisfied when I learn something new unless I share it forward. And so we created this podcast to continue that, to share forward the wonderful people we get to meet and most importantly get to learn from and make our lives richer and better. Together we'll cover the human experience. And for me, the human experience is foundational in the idea of relationships. The topics will be far-reaching, but common element you'll see here is it's all about relationships. So I invite you to join us on this journey. Come experience it with us, share your thoughts and ideas, and become part of our community. We'd love to have you. Hi, it's Jim McCann here, and it's an interesting time of the year around our office here in the New York area. Hear lots of conversation from parents, particularly moms, about their first to go away to college. It's a big time in both the college student's life and in the parent's life. And I've been listening to a lot of chatter about the anxieties around it, the crying sessions that are happening. It really is a big and momentous time, especially for your first to go away to college. It's a chance for them to grow up, but it's a life stage, it's a difficult transition. And I've been listening to a few folks. There's a lady on my team, Lisa Modica, whose son is going away to the University of South Carolina. And then lo and behold, another lady, Andrea Pappas, who works on our HR department, has for a long time, her daughter is going off to the same place, University of South Carolina. So we have a couple of Gamecocks heading off there. And another lady who works nearby in marketing at the Flowers brand, Jessica Rathman, is telling us all the stories about her daughter heading off to the University of Wisconsin at Madison. So bunches of conversations. And then there's a lady who runs our events and experiences. Her name is Laureen Intiman. And she has a son who's going into his senior year at Notre Dame. He's a lacrosse player there. And we've heard about her stories about that separation anxiety that happens with that first year just a few years ago. It seems like a few months ago, but in fact it was a few years ago. So I've been listening to this chatter, conversation among them about what they're experiencing. And I asked them, geez, please would you put that on, would you record that for us? I think a lot of people would like to be part of that conversation. We know that the empty nester syndrome is felt by 66% of the adult population who go through that transition. And there's some real anxiety around that. And we're so lucky to have our connectivity council of professional psychologists and mental health professionals who help us with all different kinds of things. But I think we'll all learn and benefit from listening to this conversation from four remarkable and extraordinary women who happen to be proximity-wise close to me in our workplace here at Flowers in Jericho, Long Island. And I think you'd like to listen into that conversation.
So my son came home last night after moving into his house, senior year, and moved in himself. And we came home last night, we were chatting about it, and I was thinking about how different it was for me and for him compared to the first year sending him off as a freshman, when I had like 10 different Excel spreadsheets of all the things we were gonna need. And this time around, he just got in the car, packed his stuff, drove out there himself, moved in, bought a mattress. So it's different, you know. I feel different. He feels different. It's a really exciting, positive thing. Different than you guys are going through right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. That seems way off for me. Thinking that he would one day do this on his own, but just the thought of him having to do this all on his own is where my anxiety comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a lot of fear of sending your first, like I am, off to college, and you just hope and pray you did the best as a parent and that they make the right decision. So that's my main fear and anxiety. Just he's out into the real world and
Right.
It's all new to him, but hoping he takes what we've taught him and uses those to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and wanting them to always need us and want us and be part of their life. So we've prepared them for the last 18 years. They're going off, they're being independent, and they're ready to be young adults. So looking forward to this new chapter in her life and this new adventure, and I think I'm really excited.
They will make mistakes too, you know, like you said, although I do think realizing that the foundation that you've given them for the last 18 years doesn't go away. Like that's there, and all the things we've been saying in their ear, I think stay there, even though we don't think they're absorbing it at the time. But they still will make mistakes. Hopefully they're not serious ones or life-threatening ones. They are gonna make them, but then they learn from them. One of the things that we encouraged our son to do when he was going off was, you know, to make his own decisions, but if you do make mistakes or you do get yourself into a bind, call us. Because I think you had made the point the other day when we were chatting about you always want to be there for them, and you want them to feel that they can call you.
Yeah, no, I was there with my first son when he went away and he didn't do his best the first year, and I got that phone call. So it's just taking a deep breath and saying to myself, it's going to be okay, and just coaching him through it. And it was a lesson learned, and he really, you know, did great after that mistake. So with my daughter, I've already done. I don't care how big or small the mistake is or the issue is, you can always reach out to me. I'm gonna be there for you no matter what. And she knows that. So I think it's just having those conversations with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My children leave the house and the last thing I say to them is make good choices. And you just hope that when they are on their own, they'll remember to make good choices, knowing that they will make mistakes, but hopefully not big ones.
Yeah. Do you feel, Andrea, that doing it for the second time, do you feel like having been through it before has put you in a different place emotionally or mentally this time around?
Yes, in a bunch of different ways. So with my daughter, I have other things to worry about, right?
Matching bed linens and things.
Right,
The boys
exactly.
don't think they need sheets.
Exactly. Getting on a car in an Uber, for example, by herself. So other worries, and time helps. As you know, with my son, initially I was up late at night wondering, did he make it back to his dorm? But as time went on, it just felt easier to deal with the stress and being able to cope and knowing that, hey, he's okay, he's doing okay. It's been a year, he's fine, I'm okay now. So with her, it's the same thing, you know. It's just like I know it is a little bit easier because I know she's gonna be fine. I've been through it once. It's just having that faith that everything's gonna work out.
Yeah, I think it's accepting, for me, the things that you just can't control, you know? You have to realize, we've been a mom now for 18 years, whether it's one child, two children, three. There are things that are gonna happen that we can never control, whether they're 5 or 18. So again, getting back to that point of just hoping you taught them well, and if those things do come their way, or those obstacles do come into their path, that they'll choose the right one. And like you said, they might not. And just accepting that. So when you do get that phone call, your first reaction is not to, you know, scream.
What were you thinking?
Yeah. But accepting it and realizing it, that those mistakes, no matter what age, are going to come.
It's part of life.
Yeah.
Still do it as adults.
Yeah, right.
I think too the how the child is feeling about going off to college, I think has a big impact on the moms. You know, if your child is really excited, ready to get out of the house, really comfortable with the school they chose, you feel good about the decision they made with the school. And for me, that was a huge piece for me. I felt it was 100% like the right place for him. I really felt confident he would be happy and he would fit in. And so I didn't have those anxieties of, ooh, is he gonna like it? Is he gonna make friends? He knew a lot of people that were going there already. So that kind of helped me just from those first couple of nights at home, like wondering what is he doing and, you know, has he met anybody? I felt confident in that. Do you feel like your children, I hate to call them children because they're adults now, but your kids they feel good about it?
Yeah, and for me, in my situation, my son is going with a friend he's known since he's 5, and he's rooming with that boy. So already there's a built-in friend.
Yeah.
So for me personally, like driving away that first 2 minutes, I know he can turn around and have someone at least to be with and have a comfortable first couple of hours, first couple of days. So for me, and he's really excited about going. Yeah, I'm sure those fears and anxieties are going to hit once we start driving down and once we start driving away. But again, yeah, having that one person and you know, he might meet people within the first couple of days. He, you know, at least having that comfort of having someone he knows already.
Jessica, how's your daughter feeling about that?
She's so excited about going. I'm feeling emotional about her leaving me She's my best friend. We do everything together. We cook together, we sit and we watch TV together, we go shopping. For her not to be in the house is going to
Yeah.
be a void in my daily occurrence. And for her to be 16 hours away, it's just not jumping in a car, it's committing to a flight. So the distance between us is great. It's great that there's texting and phone calls and emails to keep those lines of communication open.
And we all have them going away. So Wisconsin,
Yes.
University of South
South
Carolina.
Carolina, Notre Dame, South Carolina.
So
So
have a mutual
Yeah.
friends in work, right?
yeah, they're all long trips, whether
Yeah.
you get in the car and drive or you have to get on a plane, and it's hard. And if the child wants to come home for the weekend,
Yeah.
it's not
Not
an
as
easy
easy.
just come home on a Sunday, have breakfast with the family. So I
Right.
think that does make a bit of a difference too.
Yeah, and Jessica brings up a good point just about the dynamic now of what the house will look like. So I have a younger daughter who
Right.
I know will miss him terribly. So it does. I don't know what that's going to be yet. How
Right.
that dynamic is going to change. And listen, it might be for the first couple weeks, and then we might be, good. But having that void will definitely be a new experience for us.
But excited to really focus 100% of my attention
On
on
your-
my younger son, who's now going to be a freshman in high school.
Right.
So where it had been divided up until this point, I could really help him and focus on him as a freshman beginning this next journey.
I have one child, so it was an immediate empty nest. You know, I
Okay.
went from, and we got a COVID dog, which wasn't really the college send-off dog. So- and he's now my new best friend. Yeah, so that immediate empty nest. But I think for me that, and I'm very close with my son also, and I think that, what became the new connection was getting those calls from him like, hey mom, I just did this, or I want to tell you about this class, or about something I did, and being excited for them and hearing their happiness. It's not sitting on the couch watching a movie together, but at least you have that connection. And I've also found it's very rewarding as you see them mature and become adults and make some decisions on their own, sometimes not the decisions like we would have made. I told you guys about the call from the mattress
Yeah.
store the other day, and he, buying his own mattress for the house that he'll be living in this year off campus. Wouldn't have necessarily been the mattress I would have picked, but he made a purchase, and just seeing them navigate those things, which sound like they're small things, but for them, those steps are bigger things. It's part of growing up, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding for me as a parent to just see that growth. And there's still a lot more. I mean, sometimes you look and you say, you're 21. Did you just why did you just decide that? Or so they're still going to make mistakes or decisions that are going to be a little bit curious. But for the most part, you see maturity, and that's exciting.
And it's all those little things that you stop and realize and say, they're gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be okay, she's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're doing it, they're managing, they're flourishing, they're doing great on their own. So that's when you realize, okay, I did a good job.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yourself in the back.
It's keeping that in mind, though. It's trying to remember that.
Right.
Which is
Yeah,
the,
you
which
gotta
is
keep
the,
saying that to yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The other thing I think is interesting is depending upon the age that your child is when they go off to college. If
Mhm.
they're 18, they're legally an adult, and so getting access to their academic information,
Right.
they get it. We pay the tuition bill, but they're the ones that get the report card. Not that my son wouldn't share that with us,
Mhm.
but I think just, you want to be in this position of giving them autonomy and helping them figure it out on their own, but also keeping tabs. You don't want to find out at the end of the semester
Yeah.
that, the grades aren't what they need to be. And so keeping abreast of that without always breathing down their neck, like,
Yeah.
what'd you get on that test? And,
Right.
that you said that paper was due. Did you get it done? What did you get? Letting go a bit, but then
Mhm.
also trying to stay on the pulse of it.
Yeah. I think it builds trust too, more
Mhm.
so with that. So you're not always asking every 5 minutes. So
Right.
You're allowing him to, okay, come to me and tell me, and I'll trust you
Right.
to come to me and tell me whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're entering in that next phase of a relationship of adulthood
Mhm.
Yep.
and making good choices and having a conversation about different experiences and opportunities that they're presented with. And really making all those decisions on their own.
Right.
They're no longer coming to us to say, hey, can I go to Sally's house
Yeah.
for dinner, or I'm going to the mall. It's just fully their
Freedom.
choice,
Mhm.
full freedom.
Which is then interesting when they come home. So when they come home, especially that first year, they come home for fall break or they come home for the holidays. And now they're used to having that autonomy. For us, at least in the beginning, it's like, well, wait a minute, that's
Yeah.
still my child. And so finding that balance when they do come home of continuing to give them that autonomy, but also now they're back under your roof and the rules of your house and what's going to give you comfort. I find interestingly, like when my son is away at school, I'm not checking, his Uber account or anything like that. I've surrendered to that. When he comes home and he's going out into the next neighborhood, I'm nervous. Like I'm up at night, like when is he coming home? Because I'm in the house
Now you're.
and I know it's X amount, it's 1:00 and he's not home. When they're off at school, you don't know. So, that's a bit of an adjustment. Did you find that when?
Yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, he's home now, and he went out last night, and I was up
Yeah.
again. I was like, I don't do this when he's away. Why
Yeah,
am I doing this
exactly.
now? Yeah, it is a change. That,
It's almost like when they're away, you never forget, obviously,
Right.
but when they're away, you do surrender a bit to it because you can't control it. And then when they're back under the roof, that nervousness kind of kicks back in again.
When did you surrender?
I actually surrendered I would say within the first 2 weeks of freshman year, yeah. And it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard, but I did find that the moral compass that you develop in them or that they develop with your guidance over that 18 years, it's there. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. I mean, definitely they make mistakes and sometimes they forget the compass or the compass is pointing in a different direction than you would have liked. But for the most part, it's not like major moral decisions that they're making that are so out of whack. It's some of the smaller stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think for the most part they do retain. Don't you feel like they retain the values that you've raised
and
them?
we have those conversations often
Yeah.
with them, so
Right.
that it's drilled in their DNA, I think.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I'm predicting mine will be longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just saying that now.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the big stuff. I'm also thinking about the smaller things. I hope she remembers to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that she's eating a healthy and nutritious meal.
Yeah.
Just thinking about making sure that she's well fed while she's been home, and hoping that she thinks about those things and stops and takes care of herself.
Mm-hmm. And manages the stress of the academic. I mean,
Yeah.
And
They're all
able to
going-
balance that
Yeah.
social life
It's
and
a
the
lot.
schoolwork.
Yeah.
And going in as a freshman, that's overwhelming because us as parents and guiders, we're not there to say, hey, did you remember to do this? Did you remember to do that?
Mhm.
This is, you're on your own now.
Yeah, it's a boatload of freedom at one time,
Yes.
Yeah.
Freedom, new people, new experiences, and just, I think making sure, helping them to balance the academic and the social. Because the first couple of weeks too, I'm sure is just, they're like, wow, this is great. This is
I'm
like-
jealous. I want to be a freshman. I want to go back to
It's
school.
funny,
It's
last
going
night-
to be wonderful.
Yeah, last night we were actually going through his stuff, and I bought all his stuff. He's a boy, so he's not looking into the decor, but he's like, getting excited. He's like, I almost forgot I have to go to class. What do you think you're going for? Are you going away to school? Because he's in this, it's summer. It's,
Yeah.
Same thing as if he was in high school. You have to get back into the routine, but so much is happening with this new journey that he's like, oh wait, I gotta go to school. I'm like, yeah. That's the whole reason we're doing this.
Keep your eyes on the prize, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And really keep yourself open. It's so exciting to meet new people from around the country,
Yeah.
from all different states. You're moving out of town. You're going. Your opportunities are there
Yeah.
to meet and network, and the diversity is fantastic.
Yeah, keeping an open mind to so many new things that now they'll be exposed to.
It's great.
Yeah.
Do your children know what they want to study?
Yes,
They pretty-
my daughter, her major will be graphic design.
Ooh,
Yeah, Michael wants to do business,
Mm-hmm.
undecided in business, though.
Mm-hmm.
See how that goes.
Mm-hmm. What about your daughter?
Middle level education. That's great.
My son started off studying business and then decided that's not what he wanted, and he switched into the political science with a minor in economics. So, that was a little bit of a, he was fortunate that he had gotten into the business program at Notre Dame. And so when he decided he wanted to switch out of it, it was kind of a serious conversation for us with him, because once you're out of it, you can't get back into it.
Wow.
And are you sure that's what you want to do? And is it for the right reasons? Is it because it's more work? Or is it because you truly think it's not, it's not for you? And so he ultimately did make the switch out into the other school, into the other, program, and is thriving and happier. So it was the right decision for him. He still doesn't know what he wants to do with that necessarily. But, I think, again, that was, for me, that was a balance of supporting him and trying to give him some autonomy with that, but also making sure that he was making that decision for the right reason, because that particular one you couldn't go back with.
And my son changed majors also. He started with computer science and quickly realized that's not what he didn't know what he wanted to go to school for. So at our suggestion, which probably was one of the mistakes that we made, he took computer science and quickly realized that's not for him. So he switched to criminal justice. And now he's going for sports management. So he switched
Okay.
3
Science,
times.
right?
He finally found something that he loves.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. Makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because he's been involved in sports from childhood.
Yes.
He got a sports scholarship. He just that's
Came
his
back to
passion.
what he-
So
what he did,
found it.
yeah.
Exactly.
I think sometimes they feel that they have to have it all figured out when they go off to college. They
Yeah.
have to know what the major is, have to have an idea of what they want to do. One of the things that we've encouraged our son to do is use these 4 years to take classes that you wouldn't, of areas that you wouldn't necessarily think appeal to you, and see what you think about it. Because sometimes they can land in something just from a professor maybe that
Right.
really motivates them or inspires them, and they end up with a major that they didn't expect, or a field they didn't even know existed. There's a lot of fields out there. A lot of them go off and it's like, I want business, but they don't necessarily know, like, well, what does that mean? On a day-to-day basis, what does that mean? There's so many different areas of business. So we've encouraged them to use those 4 years to learn, because it's fine that if you graduate and you still don't know what you want to do.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah,
We're all still figuring out what we want to do.
Yeah.
No, this is the time to really
Yeah.
explore themselves and really figure themselves out and become
The people they're
the people
yeah.
that they're supposed to be.
Right.
It's gonna be hard for me,
Oh,
being alone now without her, without
Yeah.
either one of them.
Mhm.
So I have a whole list to keep me busy. So picking up exercising again, which I desperately need.
Mhm.
Focusing more on myself,
Yeah.
and getting more involved with my volunteer that I used to do and sort of slow down, so picking that up again. And just been, maybe
Yeah.
traveling a little bit more, going to visit her,
Mhm.
both of them, because now my son is in Virginia. So just maybe spending more time with them there as
Mhm.
well. So yeah, there's a whole a list of things that I want to do, which I think will shift the focus of being alone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you had more free time per se, or was it, what did you do?
I thought I was going to feel like I had so much more free time, and I didn't.
But
And
you
I
don't.
always kind of think about, I have friends that I met who are my closest friends, and we met when our children were in nursery school. So we were together through the whole grammar school, high school journey, sent them all off to college together, and we all thought, okay, now we're gonna have time to kind of all like go out to dinner or get together for a cup of coffee, and I don't know. I
You
just
don't find the time?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
I guess, well, if you're working, you're still gonna work.
Still gonna work. Right.
We have other children to take care
Right,
of, who are still at home.
right.
So yeah, I mean, does it really change mentally? It's more mental, I think. But having an empty nest is what I'm saying.
Right.
Do you feel like you would have possibly more time to do and like volunteering, which is a great thing?
Right.
But do you
Well, I guess you do in the sense of,
Well, it's either that or I'm gonna sit at home and cry.
You have to refocus your energy, yeah. You have to refocus your energy somehow.
I want to read a quote. I think you shared this with us, and don't cry.
Okay. Try not to.
Is your child will always need you. He or she will just need you differently. Your relationship will shift as your child matures and gains more equal footing. Recognizing this and encouraging the change in your dynamic will promote positive interactions and engagement. And I love that when you shared that, because it's so true. They will always need you.
Yeah.
They may not be as they move into adulthood, they may be less inclined to tell you they need you
Right.
or tell you when they need you, but I think they always do.
They do.
I need you differently.
Differently,
I
yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
recognizing that it's
Yes.
different.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I think my son has grown in is an awareness of some of the responsibilities of adulthood that my husband and I have always managed for him when he was younger, and now he's realizing, oh wow, whether it's something with the motor vehicle department
Yeah.
or paperwork or opening a bank account, or you lose your credit card, he
Yeah,
lost
what
his
do you-
credit card, debit card, and what you have to go through to rectify those things. And he's, basically saying like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea, because in the past I did it. I probably did too much, or I would fix it, and now I'm not, and now he has to do it himself, and he's like, oh my gosh, there's so much
Right.
paperwork or
Right.
whatever.
But I guess that moment when they finally appreciate all
Yes,
and that
yes.
might not come till much later because they
Right.
still can go through 4 years and
Right.
still, but and you're still doing stuff for them. But
Mhm.
that time when they finally realize, wow,
Right, right.
my parents did a lot,
They did a
and,
lot.
and appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah, that's all. I think as parents, that's all we really ask for is just to, have that respect and to just appreciate what we've done
Mhm.
so far for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
And the financial awareness too, I think, is
Right.
a big growing point when they realize, the value of the dollar, and I think setting up there. I don't know how you set up the banking with your
Right.
son, but we put X amount into his account, and he has the debit card, and we'll put in enough to cover what's the reasonable, well, this year off campus food and rent and all of that, but then other things, that's up to him,
Yeah.
to put your wages in there and realize. And it's interesting, were you saying about your daughter and somebody was saying about their daughter and the nails, like they'll spend
Right.
X amount, but now that they have to dip into their own
pocket.
pocket, and it's like, do you go do that, or do you save your money for the
Mhm.
Ubers for the weekend or whatever that is? And
Mhm.
they look at it differently.
Yeah, I see
It's
that
their money.
happening already, which is good because he had a summer job this summer. So I see that, oh,
Right.
I have to go spend, I have to go pay for this,
Mhm.
They
Maybe I'll wait.
understand the meaning
Yeah.
of budgeting now,
Yeah. Mhm.
where before they didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is what I have to spend, and how do I make it last for the month?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
We have gotten those calls where it's, I think my debit card's not working. No, it's just that you didn't check your balance. So I said, put a reminder in your phone, whatever it is, every Sunday, check your balance. Just
Right.
keep, if you're running low and you need it to be replenished, we'll help you. We're not
Right.
gonna have you starve out there, but
Mhm.
it's your responsibility. Don't call me, when you're like standing at the counter ready to buy something and it's not working because you don't have the money in there.
So what do you think your biggest fear, and answer it too, what do you think your biggest fear was, like, when they first went up? I know we've talked about so many, but was there one?
My biggest fear was more about myself and less about him. I didn't expect him at all to go off and have like a situation without any mistakes. But it was how am I going to relinquish that sense of control over his little orbit?
Yeah.
Not that I thought he was going to go off and make terrible mistakes, but like how am I going to be at peace when I'm not there, knowing where he's going, who he's with, that he came in at X amount of time, that he's safe in his bed. That was really hard for me because of how I'm wired. And that's where that whole kind of surrender idea came in, that I just said, listen, we've done, I hope, a good job with him. He's going to make good decisions. He's going to make some bad ones, and then just sort of forcing myself to let go,
Letting go.
letting go. Not letting go of him, letting go of that
The
sense
control.
of the control piece. Yeah. How about yourself?
I think my biggest fear for my son was making sure that he stayed on top of his academics. I knew he was just, being a wrestler, that he was going to be too involved with sports and having fun, and that academics would be at the bottom of the list. And not being able to access the student portal like I did when he was in high school.
Right, and seeing,
It was nerve-wracking. How do I
Right.
know that he's making it?
right, right.
How do I know? It's just having that control, and you no longer have it. And again, surrendering.
Because it's easy to
Right.
hear on the other side of the
Oh,
phone,
yeah.
oh, yes.
Everything's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did really well on that test. And you don't even know if he showed up for that.
Exactly. You don't know.
You
don't
don't
know
know.
anything until the end of the semester.
Right.
So it's a lesson for me. It was a lesson for me to just surrender and not have that control and just believing that he's going to stay on top of it.
Mhm.
And with my daughter, it's more, she's a perfectionist. So she's really hard on herself. And so my worry is her managing her stress level, her, mental health,
Yeah.
just being able to, because she wants to be good at everything, and sometimes that doesn't happen, right? So that's my worry with her. I know
But
that
it's
she'll
so
do
nice
great.
to hear that your son did have some difficulty staying on task. And
Right.
he fell off the tracks a bit, but he
Right.
got back on.
Right.
And he persevered and he's doing great. Now he's
Absolutely.
selected his major and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
focused now.
Exactly,
So.
and that was a lesson that he had to learn. So
Right.
having control over that might have prevented him from,
Right.
Getting
Right, you might
Or
have fixed it, yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
focused on
Right.
his own, and I
Right.
think that says a lot for him
Yeah.
as a student and the guidance that you've provided.
Right.
I had some anxieties about the mental health piece as well. My son is an athlete, and so balancing the demands of the sport with the academic, I knew was going to be challenging. It's time consuming.
Right.
They don't
It
have a lot of
is.
downtime.
No.
They don't rest on the weekends,
No.
or they don't have a lot of kind of recovery time mentally. So that was a bit of a that was on my mind. I wouldn't say concern, but it was on my mind. And so when we would check in with him, I didn't want to put my fears onto him. Like, how stressed are you? Like, I
didn't want to ask
I wasn't going to ask it like that, but just staying on the pulse of that a bit, just to, and there were times where he would say, like, I'm exhausted. Never to the point of, this isn't going to work, or I want to come home, or I want to switch schools, or I want to get out of my sport. It wasn't that. It was just, I'm tired. But then I would talk to the other moms too, which helped me because everybody was kind of in the same boat. We were all hearing the same thing. So that was something just to kind of keep the pulse on. What are your biggest
Do we
anxieties?
have enough time? Or, all that you guys have spoken about for sure. Safety is a big issue with me. Like you were saying, they're in your house, you know where they are, you know where they're going. Not knowing,
Right.
and listen, anything can happen anywhere. Just having that freedom and then being out there so open.
Right.
I don't know, it's just not me being there all the time, I guess.
Because no matter how good decisions they make, the world can be a scary place. And when they're in our nest, you feel like you have some degree of control, even though in reality we probably don't have as much as we
Right.
think we do.
Yeah.
But when they're in a different state, that sense of loss of control is even greater,
Right.
and it's scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say that's my main
Yeah.
concern.
I think what saved me from that madness
Yeah.
is just, like you said, surrendering and just having faith. You have to keep reminding yourself that he's gonna make the right decisions and everything's gonna be okay because you can drive yourself insane.
Right, you can, and
You know?
again,
Can't
recognize
do
that. The world can be a scary place, whether you're in South Carolina or we're at home. So I guess for me, it's just recognizing that and understanding, doesn't matter where you are. Yes, you'll have more freedom without me being there, or, my husband and I just trying to steer him all the time. But it can happen anywhere, and it's just, for me personally, it's just recognizing and accepting it.
How about you, Jessica?
I feel very similar to you. I'm really thinking about myself. I think that she's ready. I'm excited for her to start this new chapter in her life. Of course, concerns about of the scary world that we live in, but again, out of our control. The choices that she's going to make, but thinking about my family and my dynamic and not having her around, but at the same time, really excited for her. I think it's opening up a new chapter, and she's now beginning the journey of the next phase of her life, and I can't wait to see what Wisconsin's going to bring. I can't wait to regroup again in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
Right, with you ladies, and hear about how the
First.
release of our firstborn,
Right,
and
yeah.
secondborn is,
Right.
Yeah.
and how they're really flourishing and spreading their wings.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of excitement.
Yeah.
It's in there.
We
Definitely
can't wait
excited.
to go up and visit.
Visit, yeah.
Right.
And jump around the stadium.
Yes,
and
exactly.
feel the
Be part of
energy
the
of
Yes.
the football game.
Right.
And
Right.
what's drawn her there, one, her major, and two, the energy of the university
Mhm.
and all the, the positives that we've heard. So,
I think what really helps is just having these conversations, having that network of moms or, parents that are going through the same thing is what keeps the sanity, right? And I'm not the only one that's having
Yeah.
like this anxiety. I'm not the only one that's, worried about every little thing.
Right.
It's normal, it's part of it. And just having those conversations and that network, I think makes it easier to get through until we see them again and see that they're okay.
and it's a fun conversation.
Yeah.
It is.
I was
Right
talking
now.
to I was talking to someone who put 3 through, and all went away. And by the last one, they were like, "Do you want to take an Uber? You want to drive yourself to school? You can move yourself in, right?" So I know it's there. I know it's in there somewhere. I just have to, we all just have to get there.
One thought I was just having is, when we talk about the anxieties of them doing something that causes us like nervousness, when you can let go and let them go and do it, that sense of accomplishment that they have. I remember the first time my son was going to drive home from Notre Dame by himself. It's an 11-hour car ride. And of course, I wanted to fly out there and drive with him or, get him a hotel room to stay like every 3 hours, halfway, whatever. And my husband said, you want to get him to get that under his belt and feel like he can do it. And so I was looking at it from again, my standpoint, not him. It was nothing to do with his ability or his judgment. It was about me. And so I was like, it was like, okay, I'm gonna let him do it. He did it. And that sense when he walked in the door, like,
It's a wow.
I just drove 11 hours and I did it, and then the tolls and I stopped for breakfast and, whatever. And they feel good.
Yeah.
And then that just builds, on the next thing.
Yeah.
Confidence, yeah.
It really does.
And it probably felt good that he even wanted to do it. Some kids
Exactly.
will be like, "No way, I'm
Right.
not." The
Right.
fact that he actually wanted to do that
Right.
would
Yeah.
make it feel good as well.
Right. Of course, before he did it, I'm like, no, if you get a flat tire, make sure you pull over. Here's the AAA number, all the things. But, I'm sure you didn't write anything.
No.
But it builds on it, and they feel good, and then you feel actually, I think, better the next time they're going through something like that. Like, okay, he did that, so now, the next thing, it's like, all right, you have more confidence that they're going to execute. So
I'll feel better now.
you'll be good.
Well, I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I know I'll be sharing it forward. I hope you get to as well. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow me along on Twitter at Jim1800Flowers and on LinkedIn at Jim McCann. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Celebrations Chatter. You can join our community by reaching out at chatter@celebrations.com. And while you're at it, tell us what topics you'd like us to explore here on the Celebrations Chatter podcast. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to share it forward.